525,600 minutes. That's how many minutes are in a year, according to Rent's song Seasons of Love. And it's accurate. If a year is 365 days, each day being 24 hours, and each hour being 60 minutes, then there are 525,600 minutes in a year. But in the next line, the number drops by 600, this time to describe moments, which begs the question, how long is a moment? Well, that really depends on how you interpret that line. The easiest is just to consider moments to be the same length as minutes, and that it's more the fact that they're moments so dear, as the line says, that makes the number decrease. The idea is that the entire year is dear except for about 10 hours. I guess you're allowed to just have one horrendous night a year. Now, while that works, I consider any time you're alive to be dear, which means that the 525,000 moments have to take up all the time you're alive in a year. Now, I thought maybe you're technically not alive during some points in your life, but looking up "Are you alive" your entire life on Google didn't pull up anything useful and probably put me on some list. So instead, we have to assume that those 525,000 moments take up the entire year, which means that there's about 1,438.36 moments per day, 59.93 moments per hour, and about, with a little rounding, 1 moment per minute, which, isn't very helpful. So let's look at moments per second. There we get about 0.02 moments per second, which is around the same amount of minutes per second, which, I guess if this proves anything, it's that a year is really long compared to a minute if such a small sliver of it can be taken every minute to add up to 10 hours. So that's cool, I guess, but it doesn't really accomplish anything. So, if we're going to go anywhere else with this, we're going to have to ignore the idea that it takes up a year. After all, the line doesn't say anything about a year. Sure, the context very clearly points to it talking about a year, but technically the line doesn't. And that's good enough for me. So let's look at how long a moment is generally considered to be. The classic definition of a moment is about 90 seconds. This comes from medieval times when hours were divided into 40 moments. Now the fun thing about this is back then hours changed lengths as the year went on because it all had to do with solar time and solar hours, which changed depending on the season. Now that makes things kind of messy, but on average they were 90 seconds. Taking that to our number of moments, we get 546 days and 21 hours, which means... Okay, I'm not actually sure what that means. Okay, alright, so remember how the solar hour changed over time? Well, we can actually look at how long certain days were in 1998 according to solar time. Why 1998? Well, you see, 1998 is 2 years after Rent originally came out, which is twice the length of the amount of time talked about in Seasons of Love. Also because that's the only year Wikipedia has information for. Though, legitimately, the fact that it's pretty close to the year Rent came out is actually really good, because the lengths of solar days change a tiny bit each year, which means that since 1998 and 1996 are extremely close to each other, the change is probably negligible. Now, Wikipedia doesn't have the lengths of every day in 1998, but it does have 8 dates, and the shortest day it has is September 16th, which was 23 hours, 59 minutes, and 38.7 seconds. Now, you may be thinking that that's not much shorter than a normal day, and you're right, but let's do the math anyways. So, September 16th, 1998 was 86,378.7 seconds, which means that each solar hour was around 3,599.11 seconds, which means that each moment was around 89.98 seconds. So, ha! That is a little more than 0.02 seconds less than the average moment, which means that if the moments in Seasons of Love were that length, then 525,000 of them would remove a whole... Wait, it's only 3 hours? Huh. Okay, well, we'd get 546 days, 17 hours, 45 minutes, and 51.56 seconds, which... isn't nearly as exciting as I thought it'd be. Uh, all right, well, let's look at the longest solar day in 1998 and see if that does anything for us. The longest day in this very limited chart is December 22nd, 1998, which is 24 hours and 29.9 seconds, which means, doing pretty much the same math as before, that the moments of that day were around 90.3 seconds, and 525,000 of them would be 547 days, 1 hour, 32 minutes, and 31.53 seconds, which is, what, 4.5 hours more than the average moment length was? These aren't even like nice numbers. What was the point of any of this?
525,000 moments OD.